We go. Okay, once again, namaste. Welcome, everyone. Happy Thursday. Today, we're doing a joint live, Ben and I, and it's going to be a very important topic because we're going to talk about suffering is a choice, so is happiness. And I know that I talked about this before, and a few people got annoyed by this, and they're like, "What are you talking about? How could I choose to suffer? Of course, I'm not choosing to suffer." And I was there too when years back, when I was creating all these traumas. I didn't think that I am the one who's creating it. And I didn't
Mm.
know that at any moment I can choose suffering or I can choose happiness over. Now I know a little bit better, but anyhow. So, welcome again, Ben.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Welcome to everyone. Last time I only had an hour, and so today we try to squeeze a little bit more time, a little bit more than an hour.
Okay. So, let's dive in. You go first, Ben.
So yeah, you're right. No one chooses suffering. This is one thing that every human being strive to be happy, wanting happiness in one's life. We want a nice, easy, quiet life, filled with
Mhm.
joy, jubilance, comfort, stability, security, safety, everything that Maslow hierarchy of needs describes in developmental psychology. Um, this is why people I don't understand why people cause suffering to themselves and other people when they truly see the existence of, well, being human, you are subject to suffering already.
Mhm.
What we call the suffering that decay, age, disease, and then subsequent death. So these are things that people can do in experiencing throughout one's life from beginning, middle, and then end. Now, of course, along the way in the journey of life is that we experience death, we experience action, we experience the flip coin of pain and pleasure, joy and sorrow, and how we respond to that actually determines if we compound our suffering or not. But see, we humans are so incredibly intelligent and we think so quick and so fast that we don't realize that we're causing suffering to ourselves unconsciously. And then that's just why it doesn't
Mhm.
make sense to a lot of people. They're like, I would never choose suffering. That's crazy. I would never do that. But see, they say
Right.
that on maybe a rational standpoint or an intellect standpoint now. But when something happens to you or all of our viewers, um, a rejection or someone right now, or you yourself going into the hospital, um, that's how we respond to these events gives rise to our growth and development.
Right.
And the question is, now that we have grown, it's simple. It's how we respond to things. My dad yesterday, he was recently discharged from the hospital because he didn't take his medication while he was on a business trip to Vietnam, and so he complications, at 72, 70, going on 73. The
Mhm.
hospital, I I watched his behavior on, and so his eyes went right, his eyes went left, looking at the nurses, looking at me, looking at the nurses, looking at me, and these were indications of anxiety. So at the dinner table yesterday, I asked him. I said, "What's so what was going through your mind when you were laying there?" And he says, "Nothing. I was just curious what they were doing to me." And I asked direct questions. I said, "You weren't scared?" He says, "No." You weren't afraid? He says, "No." And then I said, "So what happened if you saw a priest come in with the holy water, getting ready to anoint you?
Mm.
Would you then panic?" No. He replied in Vietnamese. He says, "Chết thì thôi ráng mà chịu," which is, one has to one's own and by oneself. Now, my dad was always a optimistic man in life. And furthermore, as we said a little long, spoke about being a lieutenant in the Vietnam War and how he believed in himself, full faith and confidence in himself, unshakable faith and confidence in himself, that it wasn't his time to go, even during the wartime.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he witnessed his sergeant get shot in the head and lied right there in his hands, and another communication with corporal um, got shot in the stomach, and all of his intestines fell out right in front of my dad. And I said, "You weren't scared of what was happening?" He says, "No." He says, I knew it wasn't my time." I said, "Yeah, but you're in war. Bullets are flying everywhere, and so is mortar shells." And he says, I had myself. And I said, "Where did this faith come from?" "I just believed in myself. I believed that, you know, I could pull through this." So at the end of the night, I gathered that his mental attitude, his view on life, and his view and his that he made, things that he told himself to pull through the most trying times, adversities, and challenges of his days.
Yeah.
And then my mom also jumped in, and I was like, "Oh." And my mom says, "There's people out there with cancer, people out there with life-changing diagnosis that chooses, not to suffer additionally with the existence of such." So when we look at some of the
Mm-hmm.
examples about our attitude and how we see life, um, people really don't reflect, in case something does in fact happen to me, how will I respond? And what kind of um, operating platform, meaning what kind of software am I going to see through the informed lens of my eyes?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm getting some feedback here. So,
Yeah. I
all
was
right.
gonna say something.
So when we reflect that, we knew ahead of time, the first noble truth in Buddhism gives us a fair warning that, hey, you know, birth, ta-da, now you're here. You know, old age, yeah, that's for men. We kind of go downhill after 40 years old. For women, I'm not sure. It's around you guys a little bit more delayed in the timing. So maybe 50 for women when it comes to menopause. I'm not sure. Um,
Could be
so we have
sooner.
all.
It depends.
Yeah. So it depends. So we all know these things about male health and female health. Ooh. Um, so having these warning, we know that we're that decaying, meaning we're getting any younger, cells are dying, and so on. So when we sit there and we think about, well, what if I had to go to the doctor? What if I had to do this? In life, we have to approach life with supreme intelligence, available knowledge that we know, best available science that is available to us, especially here in America. With the existence of social media, not social media, MD, the Mayo Clinic, Harvard, John Hopkins. A wise person would study sleep, their lifestyle, diet, nutrition, exercise. So the if you adopt the we know about health, then it's difficult to blame yourself when these unfortunate events could come towards your way. So say you eat right, you exercise right, and you get a cancer diagnosis. In suffering, tend to blame themselves and they get very angry at themselves, which is why me, why now? I'm angry at my body. So therefore, you see that
Yeah.
the suffering of living, the existence of living already. Now you have this cancer diagnosis on top of that, and now we have a choice. We have a choice: the cancer diagnosis and proceeding on forward intelligently and wisely, or we can sit there and really start cussing every day and throw a fit and resist chemo. And people do that. I've seen it for 15 that people have a horrendous attitude towards the diagnosis,
Mm-hmm.
the towards their mental state, um, and how their body is responding. We teach you to see the true nature of reality of the body, which, I mean, your body is a vehicle from get to point A to point B, but your body will betray you. You need to expect that. You need to know that it will betray you. That mean betray us. Well, it's rarely under our control. It's so we feed it with a lot of vegan food, vegetarianism, supplements, collagen, and you will yourself not to get sick when you say, "Yeah, today I have a podcast with Sudi. Don't get sick, dear body."
It's very
So
important.
sometimes your body will not listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
After getting sick, you know, it's like, "Hey, get better! Like right now, I need you to like heal right now." Immune system, do it. You can't just hit a button and then automatically you feel better right away. It takes time. So when we see
Mm-hmm.
the true nature of the human body, how it functions and how it will lapse, how it will kind of it just works on the way that it does. It's so many things that could go wrong, and there's so many um,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that when you actually get sick or have a disease diagnosis, you just kind of just smile. You're just like, oh, my body. Hmm. You served me well when we had a with our body, first and foremost. It's that, you served me a lot of time to learn, to study, to enjoy life, to travel the world, the ability to use my senses to listen, to learn, to see beautiful things, to smell the roses, to speak nice and wonderful words in harmony with others. And we're grateful for the gift that we have had or have. Um, this is the antidote of the options of suffering. This is the opposite of suffering. Is gratefulness. Aha. So people can see clearly today. I gave an example because, well, this is a very universal example because in life you're going to get sick. Um, even the most healthiest person in the world will get sick at least once, and a lot of people are the healthiest in the world with French fries and Coca-Cola. So we have all sorts of disease out there. You got to look up the ICD-10 diagnosis 5, and you can see all sorts of mental and physical disorders And it's same thing with depression and anxiety. I describe just on a basic level, depression is like the psychological code or the psychological flu, or the PTSD or anxiety. But people really beat themselves up over these diagnoses or the habit, and they don't see that it's a impermanent, that these things come and they go, and how we really proactively respond to them using the best science to effectively deal with them versus just staying at home, holding inwards, hugging the pillow. I can't believe I have depression. I can't believe this is PTSD. Like, how did this happen? And they get very angry with themselves. And so that type of act is exactly what constitutes a unconscious choice, conscious choice, a subconscious choice. You need to know what you're doing to yourself. So when you have options here, um, you have to look at that. What is a Buddha, right? A Buddha which knows. So when you talk to me or when you talk to Sudi, we're going to ask you these questions. And these questions are, do you hear yourself? That's first and foremost. It's like, do you catch your own narrative then that you're sick, that your husband left, that your son left, and all these? And these are the nature of your body, and these are the nature of humans, that they change their minds. They're rarely under our control, no matter what we do, how we do things. But how are you going to respond to that? You're going to throw a lamp, the wall? Well, how well is that working out for you? You're taking it to court. You're doing all these things. You're fighting with the mother-in-law and father-in-law. How well can you respond to this in a better and more wiser, in a more intelligent way, that your own peace, right? And peace means the definition from disturbing emotions. So when these things come at you, the life, when life comes at you, bows and arrows that fly at you, how do we respond in order to ensure our own peace, so that we are free as from that is attached to these events? Ah, and this is why so many books written on relationships, death and dying, cancer, to help you ease and dealing with these bows and arrows of life. So, I invite everyone to think about, how we have been responding to life's events when things don't go our way. And have to know that we're suffer. What are we doing to ourselves to compound the suffering? And what are we doing to ourselves to mitigate the suffering? And is this suffering necessary, or is it unnecessary? You know,
Mhm.
the human realm is a favorable because we have uh, we have a mixture of the right amount of suffering and the right amount of joy in life to make us humble, realize where we need to grow, and proceed on forward in life towards the path of enlightenment. Because with the right mixture of suffering, one realizes that, well, especially in Buddhism, right? One realizes that, holy cow, I came in this life, I was subject to birth, old age, decay, disease, like all sorts of mental disturbances, all sorts of tornadoes. And wow, one life is enough. I really the next lifetime. I've had it with this COVID thing. So a wise person, upon deep reflection of one's life, what one went through in life, one can really be dedicated towards the path of true inner peace, true inner liberation, true inner freedom. Buddhism is, and that's what some of these spiritual journey is that you know, if you don't want to come back lifetime, you don't want to repeat this over again. Kind of got to look and you have to do your homework. There's no easy way out. Learning to choose non-suffering, learning to choose the good life, right? Good life equals good death. Is you have to talk to a teacher, you have to find out where you are, you have to find out what am I doing wrong, how did I get here, who am I, where did I come from, where am I going, and who do I want to go with. And when you answer some of these questions, you start to, you know, really think about choices. You would stay away from drama. You should away from foolish people, fools, right? Because fools do foolish things and think foolish things. So surround positive energy, good and positive people, positive affirmations, um, and these are some of the best choices that you can possibly take. And study, know what needs to be known, study what needs to be studied, and ooh, getting a lot of audio feedback on my end. Sorry if that's affecting you guys. Let me know, Sudi.
Okay.
So, but anyway, so in life we have a short amount of time. Depending on where you are, if you're 40, 30, 20, 60, 70, you got to look at the remaining balance of your life and how well you have been hanging on to anger. I want to touch up on one more subject before I give the mic back to Sudi. Is that one of the that cause us peace and compound our suffering is that we hang on to anger with our parents, with our exes, with our fiance, you name it. We do these things. And like I've said before, I've met someone who angered for 60 years.
Mm.
So that's a choice. That's a choice. You're like me,
Yep.
and I'm gonna hold you to. I'm gonna hold you to it. I'm gonna hold you for what you did, what you're still doing. And I said, you hung on to this. Did you know you were hanging on to this? And if you willfully, knowingly, and intentionally hung on to anger, you have inflicted needless, unnecessary pain, sorrow, lamentation, suffering to yourself. So hopefully, by the time you're done talking to me, to Sudi, any qualifying experienced teacher, hopefully they help you see the choices that you've been making, bring it to light, shine into the shadow of darkness, into the shadow of these
Ven,
greed. Yes.
I'm so sorry, dear. They can hear you on Instagram. Can we do
Yeah.
something about that?
They can hear me on Instagram.
No, they can't.
Yes. Oh, they cannot hear
Can
me
you
on
hear him
Instagram.
now? Can you hear him now?
Okay, so the um, yeah, they can hear me now. Yeah.
Okay, now we have some sound issue. Shall we get out of Instagram, one of the platforms? No, it's fine. I'm hearing echo back. Is okay? Okay, then let's move on then. They said it's
We're
okay.
good. We're good now.
I'm hearing sound back, but they
Okay.
said it's okay.
Yeah. That's because we got the Instagram going. This is why I laughed earlier. Um. And so. Oof. So the anger thing is that a lot of people hang on to them. So you must learn. And in Buddhism, we teach you the how. All right. That's what's going on. on with Buddhism is that we teach you the how to a lot of things in life. Very comprehensive. Buddhism is the most comprehensive and effective educational system the world has ever seen. 2,565 years. So I just you guys to look and consider everything that was said and the details into the teachings of Buddhism and the practice, so that everyone can start to make wiser, more intelligent choices and living a good life.
Beautiful. Then, since we're doing a long live today, two things I want to bring to your attention. Number one, I don't know what platform you're looking, but you're not looking at our viewers on your Instagram. If you can switch your camera so you can be facing both from YouTube and Instagram, that would be great. There we go. You got it. Secondly, then, can you also ask your people to join us on Instagram if they wish to join us from Instagram, or if they choose YouTube? Either way, join on YouTube. Okay, you can ask your followers to join us on YouTube. Fine with me. I think Instagram is also good. Okay, so I'm gonna
repeat that. We cut off there.
up from here, man. We're good. Okay.
You still see
Ben
me?
left Instagram, so why don't you guys just join us from either YouTube? It's coming back.
Yes.
What's happening, guys, is Mercury in a retrograde. Mercury is not in a retrograde. We're having so many technical issues right now. What's up with that? Okay. So then, before you move on, this is the question. I mean, I know we as humans suffer from many things. For someone could be anger, for someone should be guilt or shame or blah blah whatever. And we at times we might be quite aware of what is going on in our psyche. But here's the dilemma. People don't know that it takes fully awareness for us to know that at every second we are choosing. So I have to be consciously aware of what is going on. Like I often say, imagine yourself that you are an eagle, you sitting on a tree high above, and from that upper zone, which your lens is totally open, your lens now is not just on yourself, which I made a joke the other day. I did a reel and I said, narcissists are only empath to themselves. And I'm one of them. So the other narcissist attribute is that the narcissist don't know, or they don't accept that they are a narcissist. So the majority of empaths who are not narcissistic empaths, everything that's happening around them, they're picking it up like a sponge, and that's deeply affect them. And oftentimes we're not aware of it, or even if I'm aware of it, I don't know what to do with it. Getting back to this, what I was saying, the reason I'm saying see yourself as an eagle or a hawk, because once you're all the way up there, your lens is totally open. So it's not about the light is not just on me, that me, what's happening to me? What did that person talk to me like that? Why is all this thing happening to me? Your lens is much more wide. Therefore, you can see the whole picture. You can see what's going on around the world and all of this. So if I come above and I look at this character who is down here, Sudi, and I'm watching Sudi from a higher consciousness, that what is she doing? How is she acting? What is she thinking? What is she feeling? How is she being reactive? If that awareness is there, then I know that I have choices at every second. What do I choose? Yesterday, something happened, and I kind of felt that it wasn't right. At that moment, I can choose in the first instant, I became reactive to what happened at that moment. And it took me a few minutes for me to catch myself. And I say, I have a choice here. What am I choosing right now? Do I choose to allow someone else's behavior, right or wrong? It doesn't matter, because that still has to go through the lens of judgment. Was she or he right or wrong? Do I want to allow my mind to give it a meaning as something that is wrong or unfair? Or do I choose to come from a more conscious place? And I said, what do I choose? To be affected by what has just happened, or just become the hoax or the ego from a higher above and look at the whole thing, and I come to this awareness that life is beautiful and totally. And I chose this at this moment. It doesn't mean that I have to be aware or conscious. I lose myself, because consciousness, as I always say, consciousness is not a state that you're going to be able to contain it forever. We are constantly during the day become conscious and unconscious. We're switching from being conscious to being unconscious. So once I catch, awareness is just that I'm catching myself, that I'm not conscious at this moment. I'm acting and reacting to events, to people, to situation. And the minute I come to that awareness, I make a different choice. Do I want to give my power away to someone else who can make me feel bad? Or do I choose to come from a more conscious, empowering place and say, I choose not to be reactive, and I'm choosing to look at the bigger picture, that life is beautiful. And this thing that is going on right now, how big or small am I making it to be? You know? Because it's usually people get really affected by the events or what's happening in their relationship right now, because of their old programmings and their behaviors and all of this. They have, the majority of people are making things much bigger in their head as it is. So it takes again awareness of, okay, perfect, thanks, Sir. It takes a lot of awareness for me to be so conscious to know whatever happened right now, how much energy am I sending into it? Therefore, how big am I making this situation? And it's only in my awareness that I'm able to make that event, that conversation, or whatever is going on, to make it smaller. And that becomes only smaller if I'm not fully in my narcissistic place that the whole light and everything is on me and is happening to me. And the translation of our mind and ego usually is that someone out there is doing something on purpose to hurt me. And I don't think that's people's intention, but is another way that my ego mind is making it that these people are doing things intentionally to be hurtful to me. So again, it takes a lot of awareness to realize that people are doing their best. As I'm struggling with my lessons every day, so are everyone else. And I think people really are doing their best in their abilities and capabilities at this moment. So this is the best that they can do. And their intention is not to hurt me or to create a fight or to create a dilemma. They are doing their best, and this is the best that they can do. It's just like going into a relationship with someone as a codependent and stay there year after year after year thinking that they gonna change, instead of me realizing and accepting this is who this person is. And this person, whatever his upbringing or her upbringing has been, whatever beliefs, old programmings, however this person has been anchored during all these years, this is who this person is. And I can never expect other people to change to become who I want them to be or to my liking. I just have to accept people as who they are. And then it comes to the point that I'm going to make a decision. Okay, this is who this person is. And I'm choosing, what do I want? Do I want to continue being in relationship with this person, or do I choose to pull back? Either way, I'm making a decision. So coming back to this, the part that, am I choosing suffering over happiness? I would say absolutely. And the requirement would be, am I living my life consciously or unconsciously? Back to you, Vin. Question from...
Yeah, two things. Let's give me 1 second.
Okay, we got a question from whom? Granny Jane. Understand awareness, but it's hard when we deal with a narcissist. Yeah, we can always choose that excuse, Lovey. That is hard to deal with narcissists. Because if we look from a higher place, who is giving this label to this personality or to this character? Again, is my view, is my mind and ego who's saying this person is narcissistic, right? And am I not choosing to be responsible with the way that I'm acting to be conscious or unconscious and have the excuse that this person is narcissist? No, we can't do that. Go ahead, Vin.
So two things to touch on here is, number one, the ego. Is that yes, when things happen to us, we're very much, what did she say to me? Me, my, and I. We tend to always focus that we are the center of the problem, and we take it very personally, personalizing that particular instance and make it, one's own. How dare she said that to me? How dare happen is that the way that it did. When we see ourselves as just a mere visitor on this planet, right? We're subject to praise and blame. No one exempts praise or blame. No one exempts all of the thing I said first noble truth. Then you just travel through this planet a little bit more ease, realizing that it's not all that serious, and the wise. It's not all that serious, and the wise. Imagine yourself as this wise, sage, if world, how you're going to respond to things, take it so personally. We respond with exactly the thing we're talking about. We turn it inwards, and when the ego proliferates, nothing really good happens. This is where a lot of the to protect the ego, we fire back in many ways, shape, and form, compound our suffering. So when we practice the non-self in Buddhism, it will help us tame the ego, the practice of egolessness, and to be loving, to be and compassion. Very easy said than actually done. When you retrain your mind, when you rewrite the narrative in your mind, like you said, based on the person's past, it could trigger them what we call conditioned response. Based on the causes and conditions of them growing up, they respond in a certain manner and way. But you can undo that. You have a choice to undo that. You can rewrite the narrative of where you've been and how you're going to deal with life here on forward. In a manner that is consistent with a Buddha would do. Ask yourself in these situations with the Buddha. On the second subject, as you touch upon consciousness and awareness, exactly that. I believe that if we summarize Buddhism into one word and how that word can solve a lot of our life in our life, it would be mindfulness, and that means to be vigilant of the mind. To be aware of what's happening, first and foremost within our mind and body. Because when you get angry, the first thing that changes is your breathing and your physiological responses. Because when you get angry, sweaty palms, fists trembling, you have all sorts of physiological responses. And when you practice meditation, you're into your body. So when these are unfolding, your body's already telling you, hey, time to start thinking of a wise choice to get yourself out of the situation. And so given said that, we cultivate mindfulness of the body, we cultivate mindfulness when our eyes, our ears is activated, our senses are activated. We just have all sorts of anticipation and choices there. When you're aware, you have so many choices to respond. Am I going to do the right thing, or am I going to do what I really want to do? I'd rather be right, or would I rather be happy? So when it comes to choices, a person can ask themselves that. Would I rather be right, or would I rather be happy? Am I going to do the right thing, or am I going to really want to do it? Because everything here touches the ego. Everything here touches integrity, courage, and bravery within every human. Is that you're going to be the bigger guy and just walk away? You're going to stand here and fight, risk going into the ER and lose a couple of teeth. How well am I going to make this? I have a choice here to make a friend or an enemy. Right? Mm-hmm. I have a choice here to make this matter worse, or I have a choice here to make light of the situation and be respected at the same time. If you put yourself in your person's shoe, you realize that if you make a wise choice, that will respect you more than responding in anger. Okay. That's just one example. Broad topic. Unless we have specific questions in regards to suffering. Today we spoke about in regards to health, in regards to anger. These are very common complaints found in humans when we talk about suffering. because it's loaded inward onto our health, and things that are outside of this typically causes anger. Anger goes a lot of ways. I hope that addresses that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ben, for further clarifying this. So, why do you think people get upset when we say suffering is a choice? I mean, where do I get lost that I think I'm not the one who's choosing this, whether it's suffering or happiness? Because in order for me to realize that I am the one who's choosing at every minute or second, in order for me to realize that, like I said before, it needs awareness or a higher consciousness. But if I don't know that I am the one who's choosing at every second, then I'm never going to understand that here's my psyche, all the thoughts are creation of the mind, and I can't control my mind. But the first place would be that I'm aware that there is a thinking machine, and this thinking machine, as we call our mind, which is different than brain, this thinking machine, one of the things that it does is to create thoughts. That's why I call it thinking machine. So if I'm not aware that the thinking machine is doing its job, which is creating thoughts, and I'm not the thinker of the thoughts, and start practicing this, because this is really hard for all of us to understand that the thoughts are not mine, and don't get engaged with them, and don't get drowned into it, and don't allow the thoughts to take me wherever it wants to take me, whether it's past or traumas or the future or wherever is constantly taking me, um, then I wouldn't know that even the suffering is coming from the thinking machine. And as long as I can separate myself from the thoughts, which by now most of us know so many ways of doing it, meditations, or the practice that I always talk about, thought cut silence, that the minute your thinking machine start talking about something, having a conversation, you realize that you have a choice, like a scissor, magic scissor in your, also in the thinking machine, and you can cut the rest of the thought, or in a way you don't get engaged with it. Or like we say, imagine you're sitting by the river and the thoughts are constantly coming and going, and you allowing the thoughts to come and go, but you don't engage in them, you don't get involved with them, right? What do you say? Mhm.
When we touch this subject, you have to understand comprehensively. And the first thing is acceptance in life. Like I said earlier, when I started off with the first noble truth, acceptance that in life there's going to be bows and arrows coming at you. And the reason why people get upset is that they're like, what do you mean suffering is an option or a choice? You know, there's going to be a lot of things that happen to you that is not your fault. And when we understand the workings of karma, we realize that, you know, we suffer already,
Mm-hmm.
or future suffering that's going to happen to you, which is a flat tire, someone's going to die in your life. You know, getting something that one does not want is suffering.
Yeah.
Wanting something and getting it is suffering. So it's all subject to our karma also. Whatever we did in this life or previous lives constitutes karmic debt that may or may not ripen in this lifetime. Understanding that. See, that's where deep understanding comes from. You got to study a lot of these things that is covered in Buddhism, so that when the bows and arrows do come, you're just like, really? Interesting. We assess the situation, we assess what is happening, and we realize that there's a possibility that this is our karma. And so how are we going to respond to this event that may or may not has to do with our karmic debt determines the course of the future or future sufferings to come. Okay, someone park in your spot and you decide to say unwise words and get into a fight, right? That could land you to be arrested, and then you just created the causes and conditions for additional future suffering of going to court, duking it out. If you hit him in the face and his teeth fall off, okay, now you have to like pay for his medical bills and so on and so on. So suffering, it is a choice. This is very. We're getting a phone ringing.
I'm sorry, I forgot to disconnect the phone. Sorry about that. Okay, just gonna take us. Go ahead, man.
So this subject is, people, they look at it and they're a little bit confused to the typical layperson, to a typical ordinary citizen, because they're just like, interesting. It's common sense is what it is, but when things happen in a person's life, so many things trigger them, past memories, what they're dealing with presently, right? If you're already stressed out presently and something else happens that compounds the problems, you're most likely to take an unwholesome action. That means now that you have taken a choice, whether you knew this choice or not, can constitute suffering, that needs to be reflected upon, because you don't want it to get a little bit too late after you've been arrested, after you go home and you realize, oh my goodness, I think I made a mistake. I should have responded to that better. I should have said something that was more wiser. What did I do, and how is this going to be of consequence for me? Right? So using also the awareness, the training, using loving kindness meditation, loving deep wisdom through deep understanding, through deep understanding, wisdom arises. And, like when things hit the fan in your life, you have to know exactly what's happening and remain calm in the midst of things happening. That's part of making a good choice, is first and foremost, remain calm in any situation. The Buddha says you should cultivate yourself to be unmoved by anything that is good or anything that is bad. So, unmoved, that means someone, things that is unfolding. Every situation is different in the legal setting, in the medical setting, in the social work setting, personal home setting. Typically when we deal with family members, a lot of emotions. So therefore you have to assess what is the true nature of reality of this problem. And that's all Buddhism is about. Buddhism is about training you to see the true nature of reality of a problem, of situations, people, things, phenomenons. And it is what it is, and it can't do what it's not. And when you don't know what choice to make, consult an expert. When you don't know what choice to make in this moment, we'll take a break. Unless it's life and death situation, take a break and tell people, listen, why don't we reconvene in a couple of days or in a couple of hours and reach out to one of us, Sudi, myself, a therapist, a wise person, a prudent, reasonable, wise person, and ask them, hey, what would you do in this situation right here? Because I don't want to burn any bridge right here. I don't want to say something that I might regret.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you use the wisdom of the crowd. And the wisdom of the crowd is that you have some wise people in your life. You circle a couple of people, and then you ask them for a consensus and see what the jury says. I call them the little small jury that you have on your hand, right? So you do have choices. You have plenty of choices. And if you live here in the United States, you have more choices than people in third world countries. So sit there today and think about wise choices, wholesome actions, unwholesome actions, skillful actions, unskillful actions, skillful thinking, unskillful thinking, you know, and then glance through all the philosophies, Hinduism, Buddhism, you name it, even the Bible too, and just see some of the examples that they gave, you know, and forgive people for they know not what they do. Simply put, you know, the better, so you know they don't know any better, so they couldn't do any better. You know, some of these TikTok videos that I've given, 60 seconds cures a lot of problems we have in life. Mm-hmm. So, you know, so today, you know, we try to cover as much as we can in this very broad subject. Sudi, you have such creativity and innovation when it comes to subjects to talk about. I've been in many podcasts and no one's ever touched up on some of these subjects that it can stretch a whole week for me to talk on. I can actually talk on this for a whole week. You believe it?
Yeah, I know. Then I'm going to ask you one more thing. Is there any way, because from on YouTube, they're getting echoes. Is there any way that you could just have either your iPhone sound off or the YouTube sound off? So, because we can only use one mic. On YouTube, they're getting echoes back.
Is it better now?
Speak a little bit. Sahar, is it better right now? See if now that when he's talking, you guys don't get echo. Not mic, sound. Is it better right now? It's better? Okay. Sahar, check it out. When can you please talk a little bit so we can see if it's still getting
1 2 1 2 1 2 testing.
Maybe you can introduce yourself again.
Hi, I'm Venerable Chidao, 34. I've been a monk for 6 years.
Okay, it's good now. Thank you so much. Okay, it's good. Yeah, you know, when I have like I said, I've been always fascinated by people in general, and as a child it was the biggest interest to me on how people think and why do they think this way. That was my fascination since I was a little kid. And I always felt.
Yeah, that would be the.
Yeah. Okay, great. And I
always felt. Go ahead.
Yeah, I always felt that since I was a little child, that I came here on a mission to make other people feel happy. I don't know how I got that, but you know, sometimes I think about it because I'm also a shaman. And when I went to Peru a few years back, I always loved smoke, the smell of smoke. It didn't matter to me if it was wood who was burning, it was cigarettes, something was on fire. I always loved the smell of wood. And I was fascinated by plant since I was like 3 or 4 years old. So I used to go to the yard every single day and cut a lot of plants and flowers and use some stone to chop them up and make a soup. And then people were supposed to eat that soup and feel better. And it dawned on me many years back when I went to Peru and I see how the shamans work in the Amazon jungle, like making ayahuasca or other stuff is all about plants. And when they cutting the branches of the ayahuasca tree, they smoke actually the ayahuasca, and that's a sort of praying, and everything is being cooked or made on fires like the old ages. So then I also got it why I always love the smell of fire and burning wood or burning in general, and why I was so fascinated with plants, because later on I chose that actually I worked as a nutritionist. I'm still doing that, but is in a deeper level, working with plants, supplements, and diets and nutrition and all that. So, going back to my childhood, that I often, when people start talking or when they were behaving, I had this ability to pull back and look at the way, read their thinking link, and understand that what they were really saying and why they were saying that. And because of that, I worked on deep traumas for many, many years. Most of my sessions are deep, deep wounds, childhood wounds, and traumas. So I have touched on many different topics. And this came to me one day: suffering is a choice. I did a live about it. Maybe, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago in Farsi. Um, because I'm aware that the majority of us, since we're not really understanding the mind, the brain, the thinking machine, um, I knew that there's got to be some other ways to help people understand that they are choosing at any minute. And like I said, yeah. So I have experienced years and years of living my life unconsciously, and I'm aware of how I made that into a suffering. And I had many years now that I have chosen to be aware and awake, and I'm aware that I'm choosing at every second. So now I'm choosing better. I make better decisions, not from my mind, but from my heart. It's totally different when, right? Like when we're choosing from the mind, there is so much like impurity can come from the mind. But when we switch from the mindset to heart set, um, it feels like amazing, because we don't suffer anymore, because we're looking at a bigger lens that is only projecting love, understanding, and compassion. And coming from a heart place, it puts me in a much better place, and it helps others to see there is a other way. And if we really want to help others, we should become more responsible to choose to come from our heart, which is non judgmental. And like I said, only love and compassion. Shall we make this a challenge? Maybe for 3 weeks, we just choose to switch from mindset to heart set. What do you think, Ben?
We can. The challenge is a good thing. Every day there's challenges, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it is exactly how we respond to these challenges that defines who we are as a beautiful human or not, as the wise or the fool. Simply put, you know, it's Plato, was it Aristotle? Know thyself, and know who you are, know how to respond to things. That's it. You got two primary important tasks in this life, and so I guess it's easy for me. It's not easy for other people in the predicaments that they're in. So the path to peace, to ensure peace in your life, start looking at it now, about the details of your life. Start cutting back, start looking at the science of your life, the pie, the friends, family, faith, fiance. Look at it. What's causing you peace? If you have to make a lot of choices in a day that revolves around a lot of drama, it's not a peaceful life. you know, and usually people run away from their own problems by engaging into more problems. So cultivate yourself to be the wise, like I said. And yes, we can make it this into a challenge. I challenge all of you this whole week to make wise choices. I challenge everyone in this week to see what kind of choice constitutes suffering, and how aware you are this whole week of how you let things come into you, how you process that emotions and cognitive ability of thinking, and in responding. And if you keep a journal this week, you'll be amazed at what's going on. And then you can report back to me or Sudi and say, hey, remember that challenge the Venerable said? Well, this is what happened this week. And then, of course, you say exactly what happened. And we will tell you, either you're doing a great job, keep doing it, or maybe kind of time to relook at the blueprint of your life and see what kind of platform are we operating on, what kind of software are we operating on. Because if we're operating on colored lens through our eyes, it may not serve us well in the long term, longevity, and the remaining balance of your natural growth. We want more roses and less thorns in our lives. Make the right choice, get a lot of roses.
Ven, why did you choose 1 week over 3 weeks?
Well,
you wanted to make the challenge easier?
I can't really see the faces of our audience right now. All I see is a bunch of laptops around me. But you 1 week or 3 weeks, you guys, our viewers, create your heaven or hell. I create this every day since as soon as I could start to think about what's going on in my life. I've kept my journals since I was like 10 years old.
Wow.
And I've always asked myself in my life, how am I going to deal with this growing up? How am I going to deal with this growing up? There are all sorts of problems in my life. And I reflected. And, I first looked at my own health and take your health very seriously. We know stress kills. So if you don't respond wisely, suffering amounts to unnecessary, undue stress. And so you don't want that in your life. And yeah, just rethink things. I mean, your health is the greatest wealth. That's all we're teaching here. We're teaching here to take care of your body, your mind, your spirit, you name it, so that you can live the good life. This is part of that definition. So try the challenge for a week and then check in with Sudi or myself. And then if it's working out, that's that way. It turns around. So you, the teacher, Miss Sudi, has some feedback on your viewers. And, whoever want to give me a try, they can try it too. That way, they know they can have a lot go on in a day. Nonetheless, a week, 3 weeks seems like 3 months for certain people. Your life, my life, in a day in my life. Oh my goodness. I mean, I wish someone followed me with a camera and record my life. Just this setting alone, sitting here talking to you just alone today, I have responded to about 5 emergencies. Just sitting here as I'm giving this talk, responding to emergencies. So when you guys see me take a pause, I'm actually responding to an emergency on the phone with what's going on out there in the world. So, just look at the details of a person's life. Break down how many hours you sleep, how many hours you wake up, who you engage with, who you talk to, at work, at home, at school. A lot goes on. How much we are aware of what goes on in our day defines if we actually lived or not in the quality of that day. The Buddha says if you are not aware, if you are not mindful, well, you're as good as dead. So, how many years, how many days in our lives are we going to let it go unnoticed and missed opportunities in life? And life is filled with moments, and how aware you are in those moments define the quality of your life. If you're sitting with a loved one, well, typically people are only mindful when they're in love, but through time people lose the zest and fire, and they forget their partner is even sitting there. They're on their phone playing with their phone. It's like, hello? Did you know that the love of your life is sitting next to you, waiting to hear from you from a long day of working? So awareness brings back everything. You break down 365 days a year. How many days were you actually mindful? How many days did you actually stop and smell the flowers? How many days did you tell them you love them? How many days did you ask for forgiveness? How many days in a year did you actually forgave yourself to things that happened in your life? People cut in front of traffic, someone call you name, things didn't go a certain way. How beautiful are you? In just in 1 year, did you create heaven or did you create hell for yourself? Did you create heaven for other people or did you create hell for other people? Simple. Very simple.
But the reason I said 3 weeks, Van, is because, well, scientifically we know, as they say, we need at least 3 weeks to break a habit or to create a new habit. So that's why I said, but we do a lot of um, challenges, and it starts with 3 weeks. Sometimes we do 3 weeks. The majority of times we go to 40 days or we go longer, because it's really going to take a long time for me. Because the first week, if for me being aware and living my life consciously, if it's a new concept, probably the first week is just going to be forgetting and remembering, forgetting and remembering. So I can achieve a lot in the first week of starting my challenge. But as I continue doing this little by little, the second week would be like, I remember more. I catch myself more often that I wasn't conscious, that I was still beating myself up. And the third week, the timing of being unconscious shortens. So I catch myself faster that I'm not being conscious. And then by continuing it, even when I say let's do a 3 weeks challenge, most probably 3 weeks is nothing. I mean, I'm doing all these teachings with all these practices, caught thought silence, or the other one that I say, from the minute, first thing in the morning, from the minute that you realize that you wake wake up, realize that you're thinking that you were dreaming last night and you're awake now. But what we need to realize that last night I was dreaming, and if I'm not conscious, I'm going to enter another dream world, and everything living unconsciously is like being in a dream, because things just happens to us out of our control. So people have been with me for years, and I say from the minute that I wake up, I am aware that the ego mind has waken up. And I constantly have to be aware to separate myself from this I, whatever I want to call it, or whatever I want to call it, my mind, the ego, blah, blah, blah. I have to constantly separating myself from the I. Otherwise, I'm going to be the false I. So I have been doing this, teaching this when for at least, God knows, 5 6 years, and people are telling me today, doing this practice for so many years, following me, they are telling me that still today they got much better, but nobody feels that, oh, I am there now. the, and I'm saying there's nothing wrong with that. Don't beat yourself up again that I have been doing this practice for 4 years and 5 years and look where I am. Instead, be conscious that you don't need to beat yourself up anymore. Just be aware what a long way you have come. And maybe sometimes in life, when we progressing, we becoming a better human, we don't really have a measurement to say, oh, how messed up it was 5 years ago, and what a long way I have come to be here today. So I need to remind myself and stop punishing myself, and instead tapping myself in the back of my shoulder and say, you have come a long, long way. Congratulations, because you are so much more conscious now. You catch yourself much quicker, that you're not being conscious again and bringing yourself back into that consciousness.
Very much so. Everyone moves at their own pace, on their own time, and whatever is being presented in their life at that time. And there's people that's waited a long time to finish certain degrees in college. And some families are bigger than others. Some people have no family. And, it just, not everyone lives a perfect life, and it's, you can't really compare yourself to other people when you're on the journey of self-exploration and discovery and development. The only thing, the wisest thing I can tell you all is that to continue focusing on yourself and whatever is distracting you or obstructing you on your spiritual path, that has to go. If you want to excel quite fairly quickly, because the problem is we think we have time, and we don't have time. So therefore, be dedicated and committed to it. Don't watch Netflix and, try to do other things at the same time. I excel very fast because if I want something, I get out, do it, buy it through human effort, buying through human effort, buying through diligence. There's no if buts, there's no excuses. Oh, but I had to pick up my kids. Oh, but I had, to do this. Oh, but I had to do.
Okay, Ben, we have another question coming from YouTube
Hey,
from
Sudi,
Granny. Must have done something
on
really bad in
on
my
the
past life, because I feel like karma is always getting me. So I see that your Instagram is showing. I'm gonna answer her, and then you can join in. Granny Jean, the question I have for you is that, who is the one who is judging the journey? Is it your ego mind, or is it your heart and soul? Because think about it. If you feel that um, something is really wrong right now in your life, and karma is following you and creating a lot of suffering in your life right now, and now, instead of you taking responsibility and realizing that you are it, you are the creator of your reality, then you're going to add the karma from past lives. Oh, because I was this and this, probably I'm suffering here. And this is not what Ven teaching or my teaching is to you guys, to go back from different lives and bring this, take pieces from here and here, and blame you living your life unconsciously here right now on the karma and the past life. I would say, why don't you choose to be awake instead of being in a deep sleep? Why don't you choose to realize that maybe I am asleep? Ask yourself this question for a week. Like, You know, Einstein always used to say, is this a dream or is this real? He asked himself constantly, is this a dream or is this real? Because again, I'm going to repeat myself, if we're not living our lives consciously, that our life would be a dream because I have no control over it. And my recommendation is to choose awakening rather than sleeping. And by doing that, you become responsible for your reality, not to blame the past and the karma. Ven, back to you. Did you hear the question or should I read it to you again?
Is this the really bad karma thing always getting me?
Yeah, she said I must have done something really long in my past life because the karma is always getting me.
Well, you got to look at what you're doing now, that how you're contributing to problems in your life. Before we jump to that conclusion, you got to look at what you're saying to people, how you're treating people. Every time when something is horrible going on in our lives, we first have to look inwards to ask ourselves, wait for a second. Did I contribute to this? How? Was it my nature, attitude, tone of voice, actions, self-greed, self-centeredness? You gotta rule out yourself first before you start ruling other things out. The process of elimination.
Yeah.
And when everything is ruled out on a scientific level, on a clear, objective level, that is when, if you think you've done everything you possibly could with the time that you had, with the people that you're with, and the resources available to you, then that's when you can blame karma at the very end. But other than that, the blaming of karma, resorting to karmic explanation should not be done first and foremost. That is the last thing when everything has been exhausted on a scientific manner.
Yeah, there we go, Van. So to you, my dear, Van and I are saying the same thing. And is that right now, this moment, the most important choice that I have to make is, do I want to be awake or do I want to continue my life being in a deep, deep sleep? That's the most, to me, that's the most important choice that I have to make. If you choose sleeping, then you can blame your past, you can blame your parents, you can blame your past lives, you can blame karma, you can blame that you didn't have a teacher or a guru to awaken you. You can choose all of these excuses. To me personally, that's being irresponsible. But if you choose awakening, if you choose to be awake, then there are so many teachers and gurus and all of this stuff. Then you're no longer gonna give yourself an excuse for suffering today, and things happening to you. You become a victim. You're not gonna allow you have that excuse anymore, and you're gonna be conscious enough to know that you are creating everything. Then, what's up with law of attraction? What's your thought on it?
It's very simple. Well, at least it's simple for me. Is that after knowing who you are, after knowing the good, the bad, the ugly about yourself, which is knowing oneself, that's spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And you are secure in the knowledge that, all right, I know exactly who I am. I know exactly, after self-improvement, after you have improved yourself, after you have learned to love yourself first and foremost, then now you have something to give to other people. You cannot give what you don't have. And after you've done homework on yourself and you've learned to accept who you are and to love who you are and accept who you are unconditionally, then when you step out there and you get rejected, well, you're okay with that too. and you remain a beautiful human being and know that it wasn't meant for you, then wherever you go, you will manifest this aura, you will manifest this personality, you will manifest this energy of loving kindness, a woman who understands herself, a man who understands himself, a man who is confident, a man who knows exactly where he stands within himself. And that's what people are looking for, is confidence, secure in the knowledge that, wow, she knows who she is, where she's been, where she's going, and who she wants to go with, and vice versa. That could be interchanged with male or female.
Yeah.
And so that's how it's done. The problem, people make mistakes when it comes to love and attraction, is that they don't know who they are. They haven't accepted who they are. They haven't loved themselves. So therefore they seek that reassurance, they seek that validation outside of them. So therefore it's trying to fill an empty void, and it only compounds the problem in the relationships, because now you're going to be clingy and attachy to the other person and always bothering them and nitpicking. Oh, I texted you, you didn't text me back right away. The codependency thing and all these weird things that happen and play out. So you want manifestation, you want romantic, you want love. Well, first of all, do work on yourself. You do it right, and they're all attracted to you. You don't have to chase after nobody, right? And if you don't do it right, it's just up and down in your life, always getting rejected, always arguments, always domestic violence, always issues, never good enough, always excuses. And that's a really bumpy road. Again, more thorns, less roses. And you want to mitigate that, especially now we know so much about romantic, the study of marital couples, the study of happiness, well-being, happy, healthy relationships. You read research like from John Gottman in Seattle, Washington. You learn from the best, and you use the latest available research we know about it. And finally, you will get what you want. You just approach it again from a very intelligent level, socially intelligent, emotionally intelligent, using everything you got. Don't cheat. Don't cheat when it comes to love. Don't try to go the back route and hide things about yourself, conceal facts about yourself, because it's all going to come out. The Buddha says the sun, the moon, and the truth is going to come out. So people get themselves in all sorts of trouble, and you could lose the one that you could potentially actually truly love for a long time if you do that. There's so many people live with regrets. Oh my God, he was so good. I can't believe I lost him. She was so amazing. Oh my God, it's the one that got away. You don't want to say that's going to get to you for a long time. And then you come to one of us to heal based on what you did. So if you heed the advice today, then you would forsaken yourself unnecessary suffering when it comes to that realm and subject of attraction and love and romanticism. We all want love. We all need love. You got to do it right. Somewhere down the line, you got to man up. You got to take the courage to say, all right, I've seen the patterns in myself. I've gone through 5, 10 relationships. All right, I'm gonna chill for a minute. I'm gonna focus inwards and ask, how did I break up again? How long did it last with each person? You start analyzing each relationship, you will see the links of influence, you will see the commonalities, you will see the frequency and the recency with each one. And then boop, somewhere down the line, light bulb hits, and you're like, oh my goodness, I have been a rescuer all my life. All I do is rescue these broken people. Why am I rescuing these broken people?
Yeah. So then this is what I have to say about law of attraction. Why people are not attracting, because when the DVD The Secret came out, we were all very excited. Oh my God, it was very new. What you think about, which wasn't new, but anyway, they packaged it in a really better way to be more enticing for us. So whatever you think about, whatever you feel, you're sending that feeling out and you're going to manifest it. And a lot of people got misguided by that, and they just thought, oh, I'm picturing, I'm really visioning all my dreams and desires, and I'm feeling it as I'm living it right now. But that wasn't possible for the majority of people. And so this is what I figured out, the missing link. Tell me what you think of that. I was talking on my webinar a couple of weeks ago. I said, you know, lo- I believe that the universe is just a huge mirror, right? The universe doesn't give, the universe doesn't take, the universe doesn't want us to be suffering or any of that. The universe is just put a huge mirror as our reality, and is just giving back to us, it's just matching up our vibrations, right? That's all the universe does. So the universe said, you're an intelligent human. You know that whatever you're throwing is going to get back at you. But we're not conscious enough really to get this. So oftentimes, right here, I want to manifest a lot of things. In my manifestation, there are a lot of needs and desires. That's the first place when we go wrong, right? Because I have so many desires. I have so many things that I think I need and is necessary for my happiness. Therefore, that's the first place where people go wrong. Now, we're moving on to the next step. I have all these desires, needs, and wishes. And then I am so separate. I'm constantly seeing, not having whatever needs and desires and wishes that I have. By being separate from that, I'm constantly in the lowest vibration of not having the desirable partner and money and job and whatever. So what I'm constantly sending out is lack, dissatisfaction. I mean, let's be frank, When how often do you find people that they're totally okay with however their journey has been till this moment? Is often so much regret. People just hate their childhood. They were traumatized in their childhood. They have so many shadows and being weak, on feeling the environment has been so unsafe. So we carry all this stuff up to here. And these are energetically toxic vibrations. Every traumas, every wound, every time that I have been wrong, every time that others, whether our parents or caregivers or whoever, made us wrong, every time that I felt that I can't really be me, I can't have a voice, is not safe for me to be who I am, is going to create a lot of shadows, a lot of regret, a lot of anger, a lot of betrayal. And imagine we carrying all this stuff till
Yes.
here right now, right? So it's poison,
Yes.
poison, 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 dissatisfaction. I'm not willing to forgive my past. I'm not willing to forgive others. I'm not willing to forgive myself for the choices that I have made. And now I'm sending all of these dissatisfactions, lack, being wrong out there, and then the universe is mirroring all of this back to me. And the universe keeps saying, hello, your vibration is so low with so much pain and sufferings and all of this. You're so down, as I call it, like um, emotionally, our our emotional bank account, it's so low because we're constantly beating ourselves up, we constantly making ourselves wrong, we constantly making our journey wrong. So we keep borrowing, emotionally borrowing, and then our bank account becomes totally empty. And from this space, we want to attract love and a good, solid relationship and money and good job and all that. People have to realize that until you clear your past, until you work on your shadows, own them, love them, accept them, release them, you're not going to be attracting what you want.
Correct. Yeah, Sudi does a very good job at going into the details of it. You know, and I'm a very simple guy. I like to think of simple terms when it comes to these things. And again, if you want a simple life, think simple and just be honest to yourself. When people go into relationships with hidden agendas, concealment of facts, trying to paint a picture that is not true, the other party will find out very quickly.
Yeah.
It will, in so many ways, your energy, your nature and tone of your voice. They have questions that is designed. Just when you think the other person is dumb, he or she that you're dating is dumb, they're not. They're not. They have question designed to, and you may never know, their actual profession or actually training. So when you put yourself out there, you bet that's a clinical setting. And in any clinical setting, their job is to get the truth out of you. They don't want to waste their time. They don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste their time. You don't want to waste your time. So,
yeah.
You are who you are. So don't pretend like who you're not. Everyone has good, bad, and ugly. We learn communication skills to tell the other person, is like, look, listen, it's been a couple of weeks or it's been a couple of months, and listen, I want to come clean about this. I want to tell you where I've been. And hopefully, I'm hoping that you have a great, deep understanding of where I've been. And if it turns out that we are in alignment, if we are congruent, if this energy level is still kicking the way that it has been, then great. I would really love to continue with you into developing something that is more serious. But if it doesn't, I understand, because this is something really tough for people to really grasp and fully understand a human like me and where a human like me have been, no matter if you've been through addiction, drug abuse, and so on, the losses in your life. And so, and you tell them straight up, I'm just wanting to be respectful of your time, energy, and effort that you have put in so much in this relationship. Clearly that you see I'm trying to reciprocate and do the same. Mm-hmm. So using the effective use of language through communications. And communication is one thing you all gotta have to get down if you want love, relationship, and manifestation. They can't read your mind. I doubt the other person you're dating went to school of fortune telling, graduate school of fortune telling, is now a board certified fortune teller. So they don't know that's why they're going to be asking. You don't know that's why you're going to be asking. So equip yourself with the necessary skills to go at it with everything that you got, to have fun in life, because dating is fun, relationship is fun. Nobody wants to sleep alone, die alone, eat alone. We want someone to come and share the journey in life with us. So if you dance the dance, and if you dance the dance the right way, because school don't teach us this. This is where people fall into the trap of so many relationship failure that leads to accumulated despair in one's life. It's because school doesn't teach you this. So therefore, after you get out of high school, you're like, love? What is that? And then we equate sex for love, or whatever happens during sex, or the chemistry of the relationship. We equate that for love and attachment and security and stability, when in fact it is not. Then somewhere down the line things happen and you realize, I can't believe I fell in love with that fool. So it's okay. You have teachers like me and Sudi that remind you, like, that's all right. We failed, but you have to fail to grow. Failure are opportunities to, for us to reflect, realize, all right, back to the drawing board, back to the blueprint. And this is where we are. We're discussing the blueprint, the details of the blueprint for you. So if you're smart, you would revisit the blueprint. If not, just keep going the way that you've been going. I mean, you have to live with yourself. You have to live with the choices that you make. And no matter who you sleep with at night, you are still alone with your thoughts. So the more honest you are, the relationship you have with yourself, typically that's all you really need. The other person is just there to go through life and joy and jubilance and radiance with you. But you should never depend on them for love. You should never depend on people for anything, financial, You should be secure with yourself. And it's okay if they break up with you tomorrow. You got to learn all these skills. You got to be like a rock. And when the wind is blowing towards the rock is unmoved by any sort of wind. That's you. You live like that, you won't be attached to anybody, So
Then, that was amazing what you said. I want to highlight that a little more, that you said, no matter who you think you're in a relationship with, when you go to bed at night, you are still facing your mind. And that was very profound. And that's why I'm trying to put so much emphasis of really for us to understand how important the mind is. And if we can't find a way to separate ourselves from the thoughts, or as I call it, thinking machine, you are going to be suffering. And like you said, I can be in any, we are all in many relationships, whether they are romantic or they're not romantic, with our parents, with family, with co-workers, with whoever, neighbors, whatever. It's all coming back to how we're thinking. If the thinking machine is the ego and mind is combined, they're working on behalf of us, we are constantly seeing something wrong with someone else out there. And we always want to change the relationship outside, but I keep repeating myself, my whole reality is being created by my mind, right? What am I without the mind? If my reality is being created by my thinking machine, then why do I want to change people or change anything in the outer world? Why don't we understand that everything is happening in the machine, the thinking machine? And if we want to have a really loving, deep, authentic relationship with someone else, it's not happening out there. The whole creation is happening in my mind. So what are the quality of my thoughts? And if I'm not in charge of my thoughts, then I need to understand that if I'm allowing the thinking machine to do the thoughts and translate and view the word and make the word, I'm always going to be dissatisfied because I'm not the one who's making it. And then I feel out of control. I feel sad. I feel like small. All of these are happening because we don't understand. It's all about the thinking machine, the thoughts.
You have a wonderful way of painting a picture so that they can understand. See, if I describe Sudi and myself, I would say Sudi is the nursing philosophy, and I am like the doctor. His doctors are like straightforward and blunt with their patients. And Sudi's the one that's caring and nurturing and put it in a way where everyone can understand. I've always been and straightforward when it comes to these subjects, because you got to understand, people play a lot of games. They trick and fool them. They trick and fool first and foremost themselves, and then they try to fool the other person. In every relationship, there's always power struggles. There's so much dynamics that play out in the science of relationships, that I tell people, if you're unsure, get yourself a therapist to watch the relationship. What that means is that you date the first couple of months or whatever, a couple of weeks into the months, and then you report back to your therapist. And then, typically they will tell you what's unfolding. You be very blunt and honest about your dates, about the dinners, about watching a movie, about texting, calling, and then the therapist will help you see things that is unfolding in the relationship, because we are blind to ourselves and we are blind to the things that we are doing. So it takes a third party who is well trained in this to tell you what you are doing, and the old you is coming out, or the child in you is coming out, the very needy you is coming out in this relationship, and it is threatening the longevity of this relationship. It is threatening the integrity of this relationship. And that's where we can know how to flip it around 180 degrees, how to save it. It's not easy. Relationships are not easy. I was bad at it. That's why I went to school to study love. That's exactly what happened at 83.
School of Love. That's wonderful.
Yes.
Then I would, if you don't mind, because I got a couple of private session coming in, we're going to end this live. You can continue whatever you're doing. And we had a few questions about karma. I know karma is still a really big topic. I know people are still very confused about karma. Do you want to do another join live and we really open up everything about karma and past lives?
Simple, easy.
Yeah.
Love to. I really, out of all my podcasts and out of all of my sessions, I really enjoy yours. It goes all sorts of different directions, and it goes deep and it goes broad, deep.
That's so sweet, Van. That's so sweet. Yes, everyone is saying yes, please. It is very sweet. It is my honor to have you, Van. And let's go for it. So we're going to set up on the next live all about karma and all about past lives. I'm wishing you a blessed, beautiful day. Take care, Van. Love you, and I see you soon. I don't know what our schedule is, but they're going to set it up, and we're going to see each other soon.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to see you guys next Thursday. I'm not sure. I haven't checked my schedule. If I don't have a join live with someone else, we're definitely going to have our join live with Ven. And it's going to be about karma, all your questions about karmas and past lives. Sana's asked for guilt, but maybe we can just kind of squeeze guilt in the karma too. We probably can. So I'm going to say goodbye, guys. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't followed me, my Instagram, or Ven, please do so. Let's make our broadcast bigger. It would be wonderful. If you guys have joined me from YouTube, my YouTube channel is Sudi Burnett English. Please subscribe so you would get notification for my next live. Love you all. For all of you who are Persian, happy advanced New Year, because Persian New Year is March 21st. Okay. Happy New Year to all of you. Love you. And I'm going to keep doing whatever I can so we all can come up to be at a better place to ourselves. I'm going to make this challenge for 3 weeks, guys. Ven said 1 week, but I really think 3 weeks is really, really necessary. What is the challenge for the next 3 weeks? Can you tell me what the challenge we were talking about? Um, the challenge that I thought it would be very beneficial for all of us is that we're gonna be conscious 24 hours to know if we're coming from our mindset or if we're coming from the heart set. And the challenge is the minute I am aware that I'm coming from the mindset, I'm going to switch to heart set. Let's do this challenge for 3 weeks and see what happens. I have done it, and I tell you guys, it's a much better place to come from. See you all next week. Bye bye. Much love. Take care. Bye bye, everyone. See you all next week. See